Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And Crimsix going rogue on the timeline once again, certainly stirring the pot with regard to a major roster move that could have gone down during this present rostermania period, but for some reason fell through, and for some reason was never revealed to the public. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, you could kind of tell Crimsix was in one of these moods when he tweets this out where Myth outright as the Rock. The amount of deep fakes I see with Crimsix's face on the last several days just blows my mind what this guy's playing at. But yeah, I guess he still wants to actually fight Myth, right? Because that was the kind of discussion, like he's going to give Myth, he's going to punch you up in the ring, I don't really know. Because this whole PC versus controller debacle that happened a few weeks ago, there were some graphics being made about it. Wonder if this will ever come to anything. Certainly I think it would be an entertaining thing in the COD scene in general, and just really gaming, like if there were some more of these boxing matches, I think Call of Duty would be perfect for it. And yeah, Crimson's getting ready to get in the ring, I suppose. But if Myth is down after all that. This and Bows connect the dots. Of course, look, every time I talk about a tweet like this, it's more than likely song lyrics, but still, some people are looking at this and saying, okay, could this mean OpTic Dallas? Or at least that people are thinking about OpTic Dallas right now and what's going on there. Because certainly some people have been looking at, well, this OpTic Warzone tourney we talked about yesterday, right, that Shotzzy was heavily implying that OpTic Dallas might well be a thing because he's looking, well, he's been allowed to play in this tourney, which is, of course, an invitational. And, well, this is how the rest of the teams are going to be going. Teams for our $100,000 Warzone invitational tomorrow, who is taking home the trophy. We'll have a look through some of the teams here. Of course, there's a lot of teams, a lot of players, so I don't want to go through every single squad. But just looking at this from kind of the Call of Duty League representation, Tommy and Co, of course, yeah, former Pro League player, of course. But, you know, Scump, Formal Karma, that's a nice team. Dashy is playing in it as well. And if you look through this, for every single player that, you know, is like a past Call of Duty League Pro, or is just a current Call of Duty League Pro, you find quite an interesting pattern. You have, like, past pros, Tommy rated, you know, Fellow, for example, who was a substitute last season. Envoy, of course, is a current pro. We'll have to talk about that in a second. And, you know, we've got Bows, Ricky, Miracles, Methods, abaZy, Slacks. None of these in the Pro League anymore. Same with General Kismet and Sender. So a lot of like former Pro League you know, Call of Duty players, but the current pros that are actually going to be on the starting roster this season, who are they? We've got Scump, of course. We've got Dashy, of course. Formal's now retired. We've got Illy over here playing with Mohawk and Proloot. We've got Shotzzy over here playing with Fellow and Pieman, and then Envoy over here as well. So the only like current Pro League players that are going to be on a starting team for next year, it seems maybe Methods will be there, but who really knows, is it's Scump, Dashy, it's Shotzzy, it's Illy, and it's Envoy, right? So Envoy kind of their old teammates, and then Illy and Shotzzy, the two supposed new guys. So definitely you can, if you want to connect the dots, that might be something you might consider doing. This then from Crimsix that he comes out with yesterday, very interesting, well, kind of discussion really here that Crimsix starts stirring it up. Think I'll stir the pot because I find it extremely entertaining nowadays. So that is like the straight up top line of this stuff, that like he's stirring the pot, he wants some entertainment on the timeline, and certainly for entertainment for us to, well, think about as well. Crone, so of course Crone at CDL Intel, he's the one who's been doing all these roster leaks the last several weeks and months, and pretty much hitting the nail on the head for everything so far. So Crim reckons Crone is connected or getting intel from two major teams as a huge attempted roster move was not made public or reported. Very interesting, as it is somewhat common knowledge amongst the pros. I think this was somewhat difficult to decipher exactly what Crimsix is talking about here and exactly meaning, but effectively what he's going for is that yes, there was a huge attempted roster move that could have happened this offseason that didn't go through for whatever reason between two major teams. Now, the fact that that wasn't reported on is Crimsix is maybe thinking, okay, does Crone like not want to kind of reveal that his sources are in that camp or not want to expose like you know, whatever the case may be there, and therefore he's not going to talk about that move, whereas he might talk about other moves that he's getting you know, he's getting hints from somewhere within those two teams. So Crimsix kind of trying to narrow down like who might be well, who might be leaking this intel, right? Or maybe from one of those two teams that he's discussing that for some reason didn't get reported. But also there could be many major roster moves that could have happened in this offseason. Of course, well, Crone comes in the reply, certainly a lot more to discuss on this. Brother, the cook community talks like Takashi69, everyone of their nan here and most things before I leak it. Also only really report on things that I think have a 99% chance of happening. If it didn't happen, then that's why I never reported on it, right? Because yeah, maybe it was a significantly, well, decent move that had a likely chance of happening, but let's say it was only 80% chance or even 70% chance, and of course it didn't happen in the end for whatever this might have been. We'll talk about what that could have been in a second. I'm sure you guys can speculate down below that, you know, Crone doesn't tend to report on those things, except you know exactly what I meant by that tweet. Hit the DMs, says Crimsix, so wonder what went on along those lines. This is kind of how Gersh kind of framed it initially, because as I say, it was kind of tough to decipher what Crimsix was on about. Supposedly the pro scene's aware of this and has been, you know, has been for a while. Crimsix claiming that Crone is being directly fed intel from two major teams in the CDL, not necessarily from the two major teams, but maybe someone within the camp. As he says, no, he didn't report on it, which leads me to believe it's someone from those 8 players who's kind of doing the stuff. But, you know, at the same time, like, I think it should be pretty well known for the pros at this point that a load of pros know what's going on. A load of pros talk to their friends, they talk to other people. Like, the rumors come out from different sources, and pros aren't generally particularly good at keeping a lid on things. Even though there has been some discussion from Crim and Clay and others that it's kind of like one pro or one like amateur that knows a pro going rogue and leaking all this intel for Crone. I'm pretty sure it comes from multiple different sources. But I mean, still, what could this move potentially have been? I thought this was kind of funny for the flag as well. Name him, he says, someone for those 8 players. Okay, who could it be? Well, I suppose we can speculate on that. I got to get in a random CSGO matchmaking game to do so, because you guys might remember when he leaked the Black Ops 4, like, I'm pretty sure the Black Ops 4 OpTic team with like TJ, Dashy, and those guys. He did that in like a random CS game. Someone asked him what his team was going to be. He put it in the chat, and then like it got leaked, and Crone tweeted it out and all this type of stuff. And maybe Doug Sensemartin's going to come in with the wire on to ask some questions and get the job done. This also is as Crim comes in, the reply could even be a team coach or an owner, so not necessarily within those 8 players, but it could be someone related to those 2 organizations, whatever 2 organizations he is discussing and talking about. This kind of, as Crimsix just clarifies, obviously what I'm finding fishy is how this roster attempt was never reported, and it was an absolutely huge one. So what could this potentially be? I mean, if it's an absolutely huge one, as he's describing, like, is this an OpTic move that didn't go through? Is this some sort of other move? Like, because we heard a little bit from this is on the 15th of September. I kind of discussed the 4 rosters that have been put together so far, plus FaZe, to try and take down the world champions. And well, these were the rosters, right? We looked at Toronto Ultra, we looked at Minnesota Rokkr, and Edgar Allan Poe, this is that kind of rich guy, cob burner type idea that Crone started talking about a few years ago. This is a huge transaction, almost changed 2 of them. So could this be the same transaction that Crimsix is describing? Maybe it could be. And we kind of discussed that Minnesota Rokkr were probably unlikely to change anyway, so it probably wasn't them involved. And also we know Los Angeles Guerrillas, the way they formed was like Huke was straight away brought onto LAG, then Asim and Gunless were a team of 2 and they wanted to bring him on. We talked about this on the Breaking Point podcast a couple of weeks ago now, and then Slasher was kind of the obvious last pick. So it kind of seems like LAG and Minnesota Rokkr, nothing crazy happened between those 2 teams. So kind of what we talked about when we discussed this in a video a couple of weeks ago was that, like, okay, maybe it's the whole CleanX question, that CleanX didn't re-sign his contract and like tried to re-up it for more money or whatever, understandably so. And so maybe he was in discussions with LA Thieves or something could have happened there. I don't know if that would necessarily have qualified for the huge roster move that Crimsix is discussing. Maybe we'll find out about it one time or another, but I'm sure there were loads of moves being discussed this offseason that Crimsix is kind of surprised at why it didn't come out, and therefore looking at some of the individuals that may well be leaking that information to him, potentially being on some of those rosters. So is he talking about LA Thieves, is he talking about Toronto, or is he talking about some other organizations that it is tough to exactly put a finger on? This is attached as well, because this is certainly the roster mania leaking a hub, effectively. A legendary place is attached. We need another tourney here. This is the Hilton Bar at Anaheim. If you guys have ever attended an Anaheim event back in the CWL days, you probably have ended up here after the event finishes on the Sunday. I was at the Hilton Bar during the Anaheim, or after the Anaheim 2019 that I attended, and as Crone says, I never went here, but I knew that spot. That's where a lot of the roster mania intel from Black Ops 4 after that Anaheim event came from, because everyone was like, all the pros were chatting at the bar, like everyone in the venue was like looking, okay, is this pro talking to this pro? Like, what's he talking about? Are they going to team up after this event? Like, is this roster splitting up? And trying to earwig conversations and stuff, and entertaining time. Hopefully we'll get back there one day or another. But this I thought also from Crone was hilarious. As Spoof says, obviously there are exceptions to everything, but if pros are upset at Crone that he's reporting on roster leaks, hear me out, don't leak the rosters, right? Maybe it actually starts from the pros ends. If people don't find out about this stuff and actually hear it from some of the other pro players, then they they can't just leak it to Crone, right? So this I thought was hilarious. I had one time during Black Ops 4 when I think I maybe have heard about this before, but I remember Crone, obviously Crone tweets it out right here. During Black Ops 4, where a pro went to a gas station, the worker there was a CWL fan and asked him what his team was going to be for next year. The pro told him, then that person came straight to Crone, and then I guess he knew the intel. I wasn't doing my own leaks back then. These guys tell absolutely everyone. So, that's the thing. I wonder which pro this could potentially be. Just thought this is absolutely hilarious. And this is well from Ben J and the team. This dude Crone went from reporting Reddit leaks a few years ago to having pros try and work the field to get favourable coverage. And as Crone says, they went from being pissed I leak rosters to being pissed I don't leak rosters anymore, at least this one in particular. So I wonder if we'll ever find out what this huge roster move Crim is talking about was. I wonder if there was multiple that could have happened. I'm sure there's always multiple rosters that could have happened during the off-season that sometimes get discussed, like, even months or years down the line, that, people don't talk about in the season that follows, but maybe next off-season we'll start hearing about the rosters changes that could have happened this season and stuff like that that does tend to happen. But I'm sure maybe if Crone thinks it's particularly valid, stuff like this may hit the timeline one point or another. Or of course, Crim could continue to go rogue on the timeline. This from the subliners real quick. Have a good day. Of course, Hydra and Zuma, an entertaining duo, of course, when they were living in the same place, but now Zuma over in LA. A lot of speculation around what's going on there and like what organization, if any, Zuma's potentially joining if he's not going to be with New York anymore going into this upcoming season, but I mean, still, Sublondon's of course getting to go for the upcoming year. They talk about Hydra here. We know that apparently is Neptune, apparently Crimsix is coming in as well, but Clayster of course still going to be a staple of their roster, and while they say this, if we do get London Docks back in Vanguard, which is rumoured right now, expect more phenomenal moments out of Clayster. This, initially when I saw this, I thought it was going to be a different clip to this one. This is Clayster versus JCap, you know, of course, way back in the day, Luminosity versus United. Be good to get United back in the league at some time or another, but yeah, I mean, Clayster's 12-6, he's absolutely killing it, wins the 1v1 as well, and maybe little would they know at the time that, of course, they'd be on the same roster during the Black Ops 4 season just after this on United as well, and then there was the whole, like, ultimatum type thing that went down between Clayster and JCap when, you know, well, anyway, JCap gets dropped from the team, Simp comes in, and I suppose the rest is history from there. The other clip that I thought they were just going to mention just to finish out with right here was this one from, you know, I just found this on YouTube real quick. This is a classic moment between TJ and Clayster here, when he also had some pretty good moments on London Docks. Clay's 10-4 at this point, Looney's 0-8, soon to be 0-9, and TJ sitting in this kind of final hardpoint corner, holding off the entire cut, right? So he's going to have a guaranteed kill. Clayster's got no idea that he's going to be in this corner. Clay gets a kill on Looney and drops him to 0-9, and then here comes Clayster out of the corner, and TJ gets absolutely spun on by Clayster. It's absolutely tragic. I'm surprised Clayster didn't shoot more bodies than that, to be honest. He probably did after this finished. TJ got spun on. That's the type of things that Clayster would do on the regular here on London Docks. But very much intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really upset the YouTube icon. I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.